to make America safe again, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Great job. So just in finishing up, we have two great people that happen to live here. One's a business owner and a good one, and one's a good one, also a resident. And we're going to ask you both to say a few words. Please.
Mr. President, thank you for saving Memphis. And thank you for asking me to share my story. My name is Tim Pugh. I'm a co-founder and president of Pugh's Earthworks and Pugh's Flowers. My brothers and I have two family-owned businesses in Memphis, and this year marks our 50th year in business since we started our American dream. My entire family, including our new grandbaby, is living and working in Memphis. We want our family to feel and be safe. We have many friends that have moved away and encouraged their children to move away because of the escalating crime. We love Memphis and call it our home and would never want to move away. The crime in Memphis has affected my businesses. We've had several delivery vans full of flowers stolen as we're at the front door of someone's house delivering. Turn around and the van was gone. We've had landscape equipment stolen from job sites, so now we have to lock each piece of equipment to the truck while we're working on a property. And because of multiple break-ins, including one night we had 5 vans with the catalytic converter stolen on all 5. Due to repeated theft, we had to install an electric fence and multiple cameras around our main store to prevent this theft. All of this adds significant financial burdens and man hours. In the spring of last year, members of one of my landscape crews were robbed at gunpoint. This type of action became too normal in this city that I was raised in, and honestly, I felt that we were on a path of no return. How could we continue to operate our business when theft was rampant and, God forbid, lives were lost? Thankfully for you, Mr. President, we don't have to live and operate that way anymore. We have a great police force in Memphis, but they just needed reinforcements to get the crime under control. So thank you for bringing in those much-needed reinforcements. Our mayor has done a good job. Each week he's sending out emails of the progress. And just last Friday, he reported that crime was down well over 40%. Honestly, Mr. President, I feel like crime is down 100%. And that is because of what you've done. We want Memphis to grow and prosper, and to do that, you must have a low crime rate. People have to feel safe. That wasn't the case before, but now it is. Thank you to the task force and our city leaders for working together to make this happen. And thank you, Mr. President. Memphis owes you a lot of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Tim. Thank you. Great. And your business is doing well. That's great. It's going to get better and better. You watch. Thank you very much. Delisha?
Thank you so much, Mr. President. It is a to be here with you today. Thank you for saving Memphis. My name is Delicia Ballinger, and I'm a lifelong Memphian, and I'm a mother. And I wanted to speak with you today, not just as a citizen, but as a mom who's lived through what Memphis has become. I remember a different Memphis. I remember when the city felt alive, when families didn't have to think twice about safety, when kids could just go outside and just be kids. We had places to go, things to do, and a sense of pride about where we come from. But over the years, that Memphis has faded, and what it was replaced with was fear. Before the Memphis Safe Task Force, I just didn't hear about crime, I lived it. I watched friends and people that I love lose their lives to the senseless violence. I've attended funerals that never should have happened. I've seen families torn apart, mothers grieving, and children growing up without parents, all because of violence. Everything. But nothing's changed me more than becoming a mother. Because now, it wasn't just my life that I was worried about, it was my children. There were days where I wouldn't let them go outside, not because I didn't want them to, but because I was afraid what would happen if I did. And the fear of stray bullets, the sounds of gunshots at night, constantly wondering if they were truly safe. And that fear became real in a way that no mother should ever have to experience. At just 5 years old, I could have lost my son. There was a drive-by shooting, and a random bullet came through my home in that very same space where my son played. And to that day, this bullet hole is still in my wall, a permanent reminder of how close I came to losing everything. My family we are good people. We work hard every day to have everything that we have, only to have it taken away from us. We've experienced multiple burglaries in our home, and it wasn't just the material things that were stolen, it was our sense of security, our peace, our livelihood. And that violence just wasn't inside of our home, it was all around us. Just literally 4 houses down from where I live, a grandmother and her child were shot. I remember what sounded like almost 30 gunshots ring out. Yellow tape covered the street. After that day, those neighbors never returned. Their home now, with a for sale sign, stands as a reminder of a fear so deep that they couldn't come back to the place where they almost lost their lives. And that feeling, that fear, is something that my family knows all too well. That is not how families are supposed to live. That is not how children are supposed to grow up. We've reached out for help. For years, we looked to our local leaders hoping that anything would change. But nothing did. And that was until you, my president, stepped in. I need you to understand what that meant for families like mine, because in a matter of weeks, we felt a difference. Today, I can sit out on my porch and drink tea in peace. My children can go outside and play in our backyard again, and for the first time in 5 years, I don't hear any gunshots in my neighborhood. It's been almost 6 months, and it's like a whole new world. That silence means everything to me. It means safety. It means peace. It means that I can breathe again as a mother. What years of waiting couldn't fix, you did it in just 3 weeks. And I'll never forget that. My family will never forget that. And what's even more powerful is that that impact did not stop there. Because of the Memphis Safe Task Force, it has sparked continued efforts right here at home, like the Make Memphis Matter movement, led by the incredible, the most awesome State Senator Brent Taylor, starting in 2023, who is putting his best foot forward every day to continue the mission to make it a safer Memphis and to hold our SOARS-backed DA accountable at a state level, and partnering with amazing Senators Hagerty and Blackburn on the federal level. And it's because of leadership like that, I believe that Memphis can become that place that I once remembered. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Thank you for seeing communities like mine. Thank you for taking action. Thank you for putting Americans first, especially right here in Shelby County in Memphis. Because this isn't politics for me. This is my life. This is for my children. In fact, President Trump, my son, my beautiful son, is here today, and he would like to wave and say thank you, because now he's free to live a normal childhood. Braylon, stand up for me, baby. And because of that change, we finally have a sense of normal again. Again, from the bottom of my heart, I truly don't have the words to share how much I appreciate you. Thank you so much, sir. Memphis loves you, President Trump. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wow. I don't know, Delisha. I think we're going to have to give her MVP, right? MVP, Delisha. That's a great job. Thank you very much. I think she has to run for office. Would you like to become a Republican? She said, I am a Republican. I love this. Anyway, great job. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Really beautiful. So you're going to see some fantastic results. You already have, but you're going to see some numbers that are going to bring you into a level that few cities attain. I want to thank the governor. I want to thank the state. The state is just a fantastic state. The first day I stepped in it, we were leading by 30 points, and it never went down. It just only went up. So it's something special. We have a bond. We have a special bond. You know, you can be a politician, but when you win something in landslide, you have a very, very great feeling. And I want to tell you, this is a very, very successful, beautiful state, and I love Tennessee. Thank you very much, and congratulations to Memphis, and fantastic job. Thank you. Thank you, everybody, very much. Thank you.
This is NTD Newsroom, live from our global headquarters in New York City.
Good afternoon and welcome to NTD Newsroom. I'm Don Ma. You were just watching President Trump touting the achievements of Memphis Safe Task Force. And this is a task force with the job of reducing crime in Memphis. And some stats here, since the operation began, more than 7,400 arrests, including hundreds tied to homicide, sexual offenses, gang violence, drug trafficking, and as well more than 1,200 illegal firearms seized, getting deadly weapons off the streets and out of the hands of thugs who have terrorized the community. And you just heard a mother in Memphis saying that she really appreciates what President Trump has done. The difference is night and day. She actually said she can finally hear silence now in her neighborhood, whereas before she would hear gunshots all the time. And now let's move on to a major development in the Iran war. President Trump ordering a 5-day delay to military strikes on Iranian power plants. In a message posted on Truth Social this morning, the president saying, quote, "I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East." The president adding, based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Here's President Trump talking to reporters earlier.
We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. We'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out. So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal.
Oil prices dropping sharply and stocks surging almost instantly following the president's new announcement. U.S. West Texas Intermediate falling nearly 9% to below $90 per barrel. Benchmark Brent crude down almost 10% to about $100. And the main U.S. stock indexes moving higher today. The Dow Jones jumping over 800 points, with S&P 500 and NASDAQ also posting strong gains. Meanwhile, a suspected anti-Semitic attack in the UK. Police say 4 ambulances belonging to a Jewish charity were set on fire overnight in North London. Here's more.
The vehicles were part of a volunteer emergency response group serving the local Jewish community. The fire brigade says it sent 40 firefighters to battle the blaze in the early morning hours. No injuries were reported, but explosions from gas cylinders on the vehicles damaged nearby homes and forced evacuations. Police say they are searching for 3 suspects. British police say the attack is not currently being treated as terrorism, but the investigation will be led by counterterrorism officers. Police are aware of an online claim of responsibility for the attack, but they say the claim has not been verified. Prime Minister Keir Starmer condemned the incident, calling it a deeply shocking anti-Semitic arson attack. Anti-Semitic incidences have been on the rise in the UK since the Israel-Hamas conflict started in 2023. Last week, 2 men in London were charged with carrying out hostile surveillance of the Jewish community on behalf of Iran.
U.S. immigration agents are deploying to airports today to assist with security screening. The move comes as TSA staffing shortages are causing major delays. Agents are being sent to over a dozen airports across the country, including in Atlanta, New York, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Phoenix, and Fort Myers, Florida. At Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, passengers were told to arrive at least 4 hours early. Officials warn delays could remain severe as staffing issues continue. President Trump making the directive as lawmakers failed to make a breakthrough over the weekend on DHS funding. The president now adding new demands. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has more on this story.
On Capitol Hill, senators working over the weekend but failed to reach a deal to end the partial government shutdown. White House officials and Senate Democrats have exchanged offers over the past several days.
The opportunity to actually drive this to a conclusion is there. You have to have, obviously, to negotiate a deal, you got to have 2 sides at the table. The White House is there, Senate Republicans are there. The question is, are Senate Democrats going to take yes for an answer?
The White House has expressed openness to almost all of Democrats' demands on changes to ICE policy, but sticking points remain. Democrats insist that agents remove masks and acquire judicial warrants for enforcement. Republicans say this inhibits immigration enforcement and puts agents at risk. As the negotiations appear unyielding, the president now changing the dynamics. He's expressing openness to Democrats' demand to reduce ICE funding in exchange for the votes to pass the Save America Act. In a Sunday Post writing, "I don't think we should make any deal unless Democrats agree to pass the Save America Act. All paper ballots, no men and women's sports, and no transgender mutilation of our precious children. Lump everything together as one and vote." Meanwhile, the president has directed Border Czar Tom Homan to send ICE agents to airports to help with staffing shortages. Agents will be deployed today, starting at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. They'll help with crowd control and helping to get wait times down.
ICE has been at airports across the country for a long time. It's just expanding those things. Look, how much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit? I mean, we're talking about security options, and these officers are well trained in security, and they're well trained in identification.
Homan said agents would not be screening people through security, but will help where their expertise will suffice. Democrats not welcoming the news.
Instead of sending ICE agents to harass travelers at airports, why doesn't Trump get his act together and agree to pay the TSA workers and get the Senate Republicans to do so?
Senate Democrats tried again over the weekend to separate TSA funding from the broader DHS funding. Republicans reject this approach. Senate Leader John Thune saying the move is an attempt to bypass Senate rules. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The president this morning praising ICE agents for stepping up amid a shortage of TSA workers. He's also doubling down on his support for ICE agents wearing masks during law enforcement, though saying they don't need masks at airports.
I want to thank ICE because they stepped in so strongly. They'll do great. And if that's not enough, I'll bring in the National Guard. And I didn't think the masks were appropriate. I put out a statement and I asked them, would it be possible to take off the mask? Because they should wear a mask when they're dealing with the murderers and the thugs let into our country.
ICE agents were deployed to some airports today as the partial government shutdown has caused long lines amid a shortage of TSA workers. The president saying it was his idea to send ICE agents to airports to help. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy is heading to LaGuardia Airport in New York City after a deadly collision last night. 2 pilots were killed after an Air Canada flight struck a fire truck. Here's a clip of the air traffic control audio recording the moments after the collision.
Frontier 4195 to stop there, please. Stop. Yeah, 646, I see you collide with a vehicle here. Just hold position. I know you can't move. The vehicle's there responding to you now.
That wasn't good to watch.
Yeah, I know I was here. I tried to reach out to my staff, and we were dealing with an emergency earlier. I messed up.
No, man, you did the best you could.
The flight from Montreal, Canada rammed into the fire truck shortly after landing at around 11:40 p.m. Eastern Time. The plane carried 72 passengers and 4 crew members on board. 41 people were injured. 32 have since been discharged from hospitals. Authorities say some are seriously injured. The 2 people in the fire truck survived with non-life-threatening injuries. A passenger on board the Air Canada flight describes the collision.
We went down for a regular landing. We came in pretty hard. We immediately hit something, and it was just chaos in there. About 5 seconds later, we had come to a stop. But in that short period, I mean, everybody was hunkered down and everybody was screaming. Pretty quickly, we didn't have any directions because the pilot's cabin had been kind of destroyed. So somebody said, let's get the emergency exit and get the door in. Let's all jump out, and that's exactly what we did.
The collision comes as air traffic control remains understaffed. LaGuardia Airport is temporarily closed. Authorities say it won't reopen until at least 2 p.m. Eastern Time today. The FAA and the NTSB say they will investigate the collision. Now, this is a developing story, and we'll keep you updated with the latest information.
The State Department launches a new bureau to counter emerging cyber threats to U.S. national security. The announcement comes amid the ongoing conflict with Iran. More news after this break. Stay with us.
Absolutely perfection.
Hands down the best show I've ever seen.
I almost cried like 8 times.
I don't think anybody realizes how good this show is until you actually get into the theater and see it.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
It fills the cup with joy.
Could not get enough of it.
You have to come see it. It's a must-see. Must-see.
Returns to David Koch Theater, March 25th through April 12th. Get your tickets at shenyun.com.
Hi, my name is Brady. When I was born, my parents thought everything was okay. My mom and dad were so excited to take me home.
I still get goosebumps telling this story. Several days in, his skin started to become very cold and clammy. We noticed that he had become blue around his mouth, and something was just very off.
We packed up as fast as we could. Brady stopped breathing twice on the way to the pediatrician. And that was one of the #1 things that just haunts me to this day.
I was born with a congenital heart defect called aortic coarctation. If my parents waited just 1 more hour to drive me to the hospital, I would not be here today. But thanks to research funded by the American Heart Association, I had heart surgery that saved my life. But not every kid is as lucky as me, which is why we need your help. Just call the number on the screen or go to helpheart.org. For only $19 a month, just 63 cents a day, you can help. Get people trained in CPR. Get more hospitals certified in high-quality cardiovascular care. And help fund the next medical breakthroughs to help save kids like me.
When you donate to the American Heart Association, you're helping save lives like my son. And now, my son is happy and healthy, thanks to the support of people like you.
When you call with your $19 a month, you'll get this really cool t-shirt as a thank you. Many children die from congenital heart defects. I can't wait to grow up to become a heart surgeon and fix babies' hearts, but until then, I'll keep helping the American Heart Association. So please join me. Just call the number on your screen or go to helpheart.org to become a monthly donor and help save lives.
Getting prescription glasses from Select Specs is easier than you might think. Select your frames from our £6 range in-house brands or our extensive designer collections. Then enter, upload or email your latest prescription and our website will analyse it and help you select the best lenses and options to suit you. Click to place the order and your new Select Specs glasses are delivered right to your door. Ordering your prescription glasses is as easy as 1, 2, C with Select Specs and selectspecs.com.
The State Department is launching a new bureau to counter emerging cyber threats to U.S. national security. The official launch comes amid the ongoing conflict between the U.S. and Iran. U.S. officials have long warned of cyber threats posed by the Iranian regime. Iran has developed offensive cyber capabilities in recent years, forming relationships with hackers. Groups working for Iran have infiltrated the email system of President Trump's election campaign, targeted U.S. water plants, and tried to breach military and defense networks. Earlier this month, hackers supporting Iran claimed responsibility for a cyber attack against U.S. medical device company Stryker. Since the war began late last month, hackers have also tried to access cameras in Middle Eastern countries to enhance Iran's missile targeting. Data centers in the region, industrial facilities in Israel, and an airport in Kuwait have been targeted as well. Mississippi's state solicitor today arguing before the Supreme Court that counting mail-in ballots days after a federal election doesn't violate federal law and saying it's been done by states for years. Some justices are pushing back.
It only became widespread to allow it to be mailed by Election Day in more recent years, and that the predominant approach was to require receipt by Election Day throughout the historical practice you cite until very recently. How are we supposed to think about that?
The Mississippi solicitor says ballots must be submitted directly to the state in order to be counted. The Republican National Committee challenging the law in 2024 because they believe that counting ballots after Election Day threatens election integrity.
The federal statute does require voters to submit their ballots to election officials on Election Day. Must be cast by Election Day, and that the Election Day is the day to conclude and consummate the election through a final selection.
The Supreme Court has rejected an appeal from an independent journalist who argued she was wrongfully arrested. She was originally charged with 2 felony counts of misuse of information. Here's more.
In 2017, Priscilla Villarreal published the identities of suicide and car crash victims on Facebook in 2017. She obtained the non-public information by speaking to a police officer in Loretto. Texas state law makes it a crime to solicit non-public information from a government official with the intent to obtain a benefit. Prosecutors alleged she used the information to garner more followers on Facebook. After a state judge dismissed the case, she sued the officials for damages. However, an appellate court ruled that the officials Villarreal sued had legal immunity. Meanwhile, the justices also rejected an appeal from longtime Texas death row inmate Rodney Reed. Reed was seeking to test crime scene evidence that he says would exonerate him in the 1996 murder for which he was convicted.
The Senate's marathon debate over the Save America Act is grinding into a second week, with Democrats again signaling they have the votes to block the final passage. Over the weekend, Democrats voted down a Republican amendment that would have barred men from competing in women's sports. That's one of several cultural-related provisions the president has demanded in the package. At its core, the Save America Act would tighten voter registration rules by requiring proof of citizenship to register to vote and a photo ID when casting votes, a top priority for President Trump. Here's Senate Majority Leader John Thune speaking over the weekend.
Mr. President, when it comes to showing photo ID at the polls, not only do most Americans support it, 36 states already require it. Red states, blue states, swing states.
Republicans have scheduled days of late-night sessions to keep the spotlight on voting rules and men competing in women's sports. The goal is to put Democrats on defense heading into the midterms, even if the bill itself stalls under the Senate's 60-vote threshold. President Trump's pick to head the Department of Homeland Security is one step closer to confirmation. Here's more.
This comes after the Senate voted 54-37 yesterday to advance Senator Markwayne Mullin's nomination, with 2 Democrats joining Republicans to move it forward. A final confirmation vote is expected early this week. Mullin has served in the Senate since 2023. Before that, he spent a decade in the House representing Oklahoma. Mullin gained support from Democratic Senator John Fetterman, who cast a key vote in committee. Senator Rand Paul voted no. President Trump earlier this month announcing Mullin would replace outgoing DHS Secretary Kristi Noem. Mullin says his leadership will be different and that his focus will be on empowering people.
President Trump saying today he ordered a 5-day pause on U.S. strikes against Iranian energy sites. We discuss this with an analyst after the break. Stay with us.
Are you sitting at home living in pain? Maybe it's in your hands, maybe your back or your hips. The good news is you don't need to live in pain. Why? Because there is Omega XL, a one-of-a-kind, natural, powerful joint relief supplement created from the green lip mussels of New Zealand. Drug-free, non-habit forming. It's small, easy to swallow, and it's backed by more than 40 years of clinical research. If you're experiencing daily aches and pains due to aging and overuse, try Omega XL. Just ask anybody who uses it. The results are undeniable.
I had a lot of joint pain, and that slowed me down.
I had considerable pain in my back.
Really felt the pain. I mean, in my ankles and in my heels.
I'm telling you about something that's gonna change your life. It has revived me.
This works.
I'm not a prisoner anymore to my pain.
As I was getting older, my joints started to feel that wear and tear. But then I tried Omega XL, and it changed my life. Today I'm here at my ranch exercising some of my polo ponies. So as you get older, it gets tougher. I was starting to suffer some of that business, and then I ran into somebody who said, look, you should try Omega XL. And look what it's done. I feel better than I felt in the last 30 years. And Omega XL gave me the ability to get back in the saddle. It works great. If you're in pain, I want you to know that there is real hope out there. I'm living proof. See the difference it can make in your life, just like it did in mine.
Call now or order online to receive our special TV offer. Buy 1 bottle of Omega XL and get a second free. Plus, we'll also include a free bottle of Vitamin XL D3. 2 free bottles for the price of 1 bottle of Omega XL. A total value of $115. You pay only $49.95 and it ships free. Plus, you get a money-back guarantee. Buy 1, get 2 free. Call or go online right now. Say goodbye to harsh, bitter coffee and hello to a delicious, smooth brew. With specialty quality beans, expertly roasted in-house, you'll taste the difference with every sip. Fermented with a blend of 50 enzymes, Dave's Coffee delivers a rich brew like no other. Made with the highest grade specialty beans available, you're sure to taste the difference. Elevate your morning with Dave's enzyme fermented coffee.
When they learn something new and you can just see in their faces, it's such an incredible moment. It's those moments that are my favorite.
U.S. immigration agents are deploying to airports today to assist with security screening. The move comes as TSA staffing shortages are causing major delays. Agents are being sent to over a dozen airports across the country, including in Atlanta, New York, Cleveland, Pittsburgh, Phoenix, and Fort Myers, Florida. At Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport, passengers were told to arrive at least 4 hours early. Officials warned delays could remain severe as staffing issues continue. President Trump making the directive as lawmakers failed to make a breakthrough over the weekend on DHS funding. The president now adding new demands. NTD's Melina Weisskopf has more.
On Capitol Hill, senators working over the weekend but failed to reach a deal to end the partial government shutdown. White House officials and Senate Democrats have exchanged offers over the past several days.
The opportunity to actually drive this to a conclusion is there. You have to have, obviously, to negotiate a deal, you got to have two sides at the table. The White House is there, Senate Republicans are there. The question is, are Senate Democrats going to take yes for an answer?
The White House has expressed openness to almost all of Democrats' demands on changes to ICE policy, but sticking points remain. Democrats insist that agents remove masks and acquire judicial warrants for enforcement. Republicans say this inhibits immigration enforcement and puts agents at risk. As the negotiations appear unyielding, the president now changing the dynamics. He's expressing openness to Democrats' demand to reduce ICE funding in exchange for the votes to pass the Save America Act. In a Sunday Post writing, I don't think we should make any deal unless Democrats agree to pass the Save America Act. All paper ballots, no men and women's sports, and no transgender mutilation of our precious children. Lump everything together as one and vote. Meanwhile, the president has directed Border Czar Tom Homan to send ICE agents to airports to help with staffing shortages. Agents will be deployed today, starting at Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport. They'll help with crowd control and helping to get wait times down.
ICE has been at airports across the country for a long time. It's just expanding those things. Look, how much of a plan does it mean to guard an exit to make sure no one comes through that exit? I mean, we're talking about security options, and these officers are well trained in security, and they're well trained in identification.
Homan said agents would not be screening people through security, but will help where their expertise will suffice. Democrats not welcoming the news.
Instead of sending ICE agents to harass travelers at airports, why doesn't Trump get his act together and agree to pay the TSA workers and get the Senate Republicans to do so?
Senate Democrats tried again over the weekend to separate TSA funding from the broader DHS funding. Republicans reject this approach. Senate Leader John Thune saying the move is an attempt to bypass Senate rules. Reporting from Washington, D.C., Melina Weisskopf, NTD News.
The president this morning praising ICE agents for stepping up amid a shortage of TSA workers. He's also doubling down on his support for ICE agents wearing masks during law enforcement, though saying they don't need masks at airports.
I want to thank ICE because they stepped in so strongly. They'll do great. And if that's not enough, I'll bring in the National Guard. When I didn't think the masks were appropriate, I put out a statement and I asked them, would it be possible to take off the mask? Because they should wear a mask when they're dealing with the murderers and the thugs let into our country.
ICE agents were deployed to some airports today as the partial government shutdown has caused long lines amid a shortage of TSA workers. The president saying it was his idea to send ICE agents to airports to help. And a major development in the Iran war, President Trump ordering a 5-day delay to military strikes on Iranian power plants. In a message posted on Truth Social this morning, the president saying, quote, I am pleased to report that the United States of America and the country of Iran have had over the last 2 days very good and productive conversations regarding a complete and total resolution of our hostilities in the Middle East. The president adding, based on the tenor and tone of these in-depth, detailed, and constructive conversations, which will continue throughout the week, I have instructed the Department of War to postpone any and all military strikes against Iranian power plants and energy infrastructure for a 5-day period, subject to the success of the ongoing meetings and discussions. Here's President Trump talking to reporters earlier.
We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. We'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out. So tomorrow morning sometime, their time, we were expected to blow up their largest electric generating plants that cost over $10 billion to build. It's a very good one. There was no dearth of money. And one shot, it's gone. It collapses. Why would they want that? So they called. I didn't call. They called. They want to make a deal. And we are very willing to make a deal. It's got to be a good deal. And it's got to be no more wars, no more nuclear weapons. They're not going to have nuclear weapons anymore. They're agreeing to that. Any of that stuff, there's no deal.
And oil prices dropping sharply and stocks surging almost instantly following the president's new announcement. The U.S. West Texas Intermediate falling nearly 9% to below $90 per barrel. Benchmark Brent crude down almost 10% to about $100. And the main U.S. stock indexes moving higher today. The Dow Jones jumping over 800 points, with S&P 500 and NASDAQ also posting strong gains. President Trump saying today he ordered a 5-day pause on U.S. strikes against Iranian energy sites. Meanwhile, the State Department is renewing a worldwide caution alert, warning that Iran groups may target Americans. Joining us now to discuss is Andrew Harding, Senior Associate for National Security Coalitions at the Heritage Foundation. Andrew, so good to have you here. Good afternoon. So President Trump earlier today said the U.S. had productive talks with Iran. Here's a look at what he said.
We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. So the discussions took place yesterday. They went into yesterday evening. They want very much to make a deal. We'd like to make a deal too. We're going to get together today by probably phone, because it's very hard to find a country. It's very hard for them to get out, I guess. But we'll at some point very, very soon meet. We're doing a 5-day period. We'll see how that goes. And if it goes well, we're going to end up with settling this. Otherwise, we'll just keep bombing our little hearts out.
So, Andrew, some outlets are saying that President Trump is walking back on his 48-hour ultimatum. But this is President Trump's style. We've seen that with the tariffs, the stop-and-go nature of negotiations. And, you know, it has worked out for President Trump. Your reaction to the latest move by the president?
Well, good afternoon. I think this move is a focus on the president taking a strategic pause, which provides the United States a lot of new leverage without losing any for Iran. Specifically, first, Iran is willing to come to the table due to how successful Operation Epic Fury has been, because the Iranians understand that the United States, under President Trump's direction, can absolutely take out its energy infrastructure, like the president said, with one shot. That means the Iranians take the United States' threats very seriously, and they're willing to enter in the sub-negotiated settlement if that's an acceptable pathway that the president allows. But it shows then that the Iranians are going to be very concerned with what the United States can do, as President Trump may order it. And the president made clear he can authorize these strikes if he so needs to, and if he believes diplomacy doesn't go down the right path. But secondly, it also allows the United States more time to reduce concerns over prices of the oil market, while also increasing, say, Marines or different options that can come into theater that the president can deploy to advance American national security interests. So I think this is a move that allows the United States to maximize its leverage and to keep the force on the Iranians to finally come to the table with meaningful diplomacy.
So then, to your point, what is the likelihood that Iran will agree to Trump's terms now compared to before the war started, now that Iran has seen what the U.S. is capable of? So, I mean, in relative terms, is Iran more likely now than before to come to the negotiation table?
I think so. I think Operation Epic Fury has forced Iran to be in a much weaker position than it ever could have imagined just a few weeks ago. It certainly helps when on the very first day you're able to take out the Ayatollah and dozens of Iranian leaders, and as a result, put the Iranians in a very difficult position of losing their missiles to fire. They're having a reduction in the amount of drones they have available. They no longer have a full arsenal of launchers, ultimately having about maybe 70% of that arsenal depleted. And at best, the Iranians can attempt to hold the Strait of Hormuz at risk, which they have some ability to do, but by no means do they have the necessary armed forces to successfully continue that week after week with these continued operations coming from Operation Epic Fury. So I think due to this strike, due to the operation that the president in combination with the Israelis have orchestrated, I think Iran is in a weaker position. The United States is much stronger. And I think that's how we're finally seeing some diplomatic breakthroughs that are actually to the interest of President Trump.
Okay, so you're saying Iran is in a weaker position. Let me ask you this, because semi-official Iranian news agency Mir News reported that the Iranian Foreign Ministry said there's no dialogue between Tehran and Washington. But the President Trump says the U.S. did have talks. So, I mean, the obvious conclusion here is that one side is telling the truth, one side is not telling the truth. But if you look at what Iran has done, Andrew, Iran is releasing fake AI videos. It's making false official statements, amplifying, fabricated victories. Remember, it said that it shot down a U.S. fighter jet. So if I were to choose one side to trust, I would trust the U.S.
Well, I think you're making the correct choice there. And I think if you listen to President Trump's comments on the tarmac, it sounds pretty believable. It sounds like this has been a multi-day process, not to mention the multiple weeks and months of potential talks that have occurred in Switzerland or elsewhere. But over the weekend, the president articulated what occurred, that there's been some discussions. He made clear that there's different individuals he may be talking to. There's been some reports about what could potentially be a summit or an in-person gathering in the days or weeks ahead. So I think all signs indicate that President Trump is telling the truth. And exactly to your point, that Iran does not have a good track record of telling the truth. They're obviously trying to grasp as many straws as possible to demonstrate strength. We know that the current Ayatollah has yet to be seen. We've only seen some statements come out, but he's not even leading the country he's supposedly been elected to represent. So there's some concerns coming out of Iran here, but I'm very much focused on President Trump's statements and believing that at this point, Iran may be willing to give some serious, credible concessions that is going to advance American national security interests.
So what does Iran stand to gain by denying President Trump's statement that they're having conversations?
I think what they're trying to do is demonstrate some level of strength internally. Certainly, it's fair to say that the regime is not doing a good job in fighting against this war. The United States and Israel, within the first week, sunk most of the Iranian Navy, was able to establish almost complete air superiority, and is freely dropping bombs as need be on identified targets that are either oppressing the Iranian people or pose a threat to the United States, Israel, and the Middle East. And as we've increasingly learned over the weekend, having potential missiles that could hit across Europe. With a potential strike that was launched at a joint U.S.-UK base in Diego Garcia. So I think Iran is trying to do everything it can to project confidence at home, but make no mistake, I think President Trump sees through this. He knows that they have no leverage, and this is now the time for the United States to continue the military campaign that squeezes Iran into ultimately giving the necessary concessions that supports American national security interest, and we can see an end to this conflict soon.
All right, Andrew, with that, I have another clip here of President Trump speaking about a regime change. Let's take a look.
And there'll also be a form of a very serious form of a regime change. Now, in all fairness, everybody's been killed from the regime. They're really starting off. There's automatically a regime change. But we're dealing with some people that I find to be very reasonable, very solid. The people within know who they are. They're very respected. And maybe one of them will be exactly what we're looking for. Look at Venezuela.
Now, Andrew, I could be wrong here, but I believe this is the first time President Trump actually explicitly confirming a regime change. What is your reaction?
Well, I think the president's been very clear that he's going to maximize American security interests, which means preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, preventing Iran from having a ballistic missile system that can hit the continental United States, and preventing Iran from projecting power with its terrorist proxies or Navy or Air Force in the region. I think that's always been the president's focus. So when it comes to conversations about regime change, that isn't the priority. But if there can be a scenario in which there are members of the regime that are more practical, that are more willing to work with the president, and it sounds like the president is optimistic that there may be one or some that are forming that are willing to work closely with the president and make ironclad guarantees that are in America's security interests, then there may be a possibility of a breakthrough here. But I think time will tell about what the regime ultimately looks like. At the end of the day, as long as we're able to see some type of solution that puts America in a safer and stronger position, I think that's something the president will appreciate.
All right, Andrew, I don't want to take up too much of your time. Just one more comment from you on the State Department saying that it is renewing a worldwide caution alert, warning that Iran-supporting groups may target Americans. Is this a primarily precautionary move, or is it something credible, suggesting of credible intelligence or imminent threats?
Well, I think it's always important to be very precautious when it comes to Iran. We know that it is the world's largest state sponsor of terror and has supported the killings of hundreds and over thousands of Americans around the world, as well as we just saw over the past few weeks since the operation, multiple terrorist attacks with anti-Semitic roots, as well as an intent to bring harm to the American people, shows that Iran is very much attempting to project to those that are sympathetic to the regime around the world to hurt the American people. So absolutely, the American people should be very safe. They should be alert within their homes and communities, but certainly if they're traveling abroad, as the State Department said, especially in the Middle East. This is not new, but the conflict has heightened these concerns. And I trust the president and the U.S. armed forces around the world to keep the American people safe as we continue to see this operation move forward.
Okay, Andrew, so good to speak with you today. Thank you.
Thank you.
And President Trump is visiting Graceland following a roundtable in Memphis today. Let's listen in.
Across the street that we have in archives and very well protected. Almost as well protected as you are.
Do you ever get tired of that music?
Never.
I don't think so.
Great. Genius is genius.
I don't get tired of that music. I hear it a lot.
As a matter of fact, this is actually the last Grammy Elvis won, and it was for the live recording of How Great Thou Art, which is what we were just listening to. Which I know that song was something that you played at the White House when you presented Elvis the Medal of Freedom.
That was a big day.
Yeah.
It was a great day. It was a great honor, actually.
For us too.
Thank you. We have some wonderful people outside. We have some of the biggest politicians in America outside. And when they heard about Elvis, they said, "We'll do that." So, how's the house doing? Good?
It's wonderful. It really is. It's, Elvis, wanted to live there forever. He's really the American dream. He was really an American. He made every American feel that they could have the things that he had. They gave them reason, and he actually made America great. Yeah. He really did. He gave people reason to feel that they deserve something, regardless of where they came from, regardless of who their parents were, regardless of anything. He gave them the belief that they could be anything they wanted to be.
And does his music sell better today than it did during his prime?
He actually, the estate makes more money today than it ever made while Elvis was alive, even when accounting for inflation. Our new epic, which you really need to see, and hopefully you can in the White House, the new Baz Luhrmann epic biography, just incredible, broke all records for any, beat the Beatles, beat Led Zeppelin, any other music biography. So he's really as relevant or more relevant today than he's ever been.
You need to see it. You have to see all these people. These are the biggest people in the country. There's our Attorney General in case you get in trouble. Would you help out Elvis? Elvis maybe, I don't know, gets a little bit of a pass. Not much. We're not allowed to give much of a pass. But he was great. You're a big fan of Elvis, family.
My mother was, especially.
Yeah. Elvis loved law enforcement. He actually donated a lot of money to law enforcement. He wanted a badge so badly that he threatened the Shelby County sheriff that if he didn't get a badge, he'd run against them to get the badge. So he has a collection of...
You would have been tough to beat.
Yes, we have a collection of over 200 badges in our collection.
Is Elvis beatable? What do you think? CNN would say no.
Have you been here before, Mr. President, or is this your first time?
I've never been here, no. I'm a big fan of Elvis. Who isn't, right? But I think he's great. I think his music is incredible. I understood his life. His life was, complicated, right? It was complicated. But he was terrific, sure. And he was born with a voice that he never lost, right?
Yes, exactly.
He had other difficulties, but he never lost the voice.
The last day.
Yeah.
And Graceland really is the fulfillment of a childhood promise one day that Elvis made to his parents to buy them a big house so that he could take care of them. And that's what Graceland represents.
Well, he loved his mom.
Yes.
So much. I think the father, but he really loved his mom. And
yes.
I think when his mom went, it was very hard for him, right?
Very, very hard. Yeah. And really, Graceland is probably the most positive thing that when foreigners come from all over the world, tens of millions of foreigners come to Graceland, it's what they really represent, the best of America, because Elvis really represented the best of America.
Well, you're getting a lot of publicity today with all of these. You have all the fake news media here. Look at this. I mean, you ever see so much? Do you get treated, tell me, does Elvis get treated better than me? Because with me, it's fake news. With Elvis, it was a little fake news too.
I think in the UK we're about the same as you.
Oh, really?
So you have some from both. It's people want to. He was so revolutionary and so important that I think that brilliance people are afraid of. And I think people who are afraid of brilliance have to lash out.
Wow, it was special. Please.
We have a few more things over here I wanted to show you. So if you'll just come this way.
Okay.
Yeah. So this is a portrait of Elvis that was done when he was in basic training in Fort Hood, Texas. And it shows you Elvis's natural hair color of blonde. He was born blonde hair, blue eyes. He dyed his hair black because he thought it brought his facial features better out on film. And so he started doing that after his first movie, Love Me Tender. This is actually the oldest guitar in our collection. It's a 1956 Gibson J200. Elvis used it in the movies Loving You, Jailhouse Rock, and King Creole, and then used it in Vegas in '69 and '70. And then at the top of the stairs, we have the outfit that Elvis wears at the end of the '68 comeback special when he sang the song If I Can Dream, which was especially written for the show. After the assassination of Martin Luther King and Robert Kennedy, Elvis felt like he needed to make a statement of how America could be. And so that's what If I Can Dream represents. And he ended the show wearing that outfit right there.
So he loved this place, right?
He did. Yeah. And he loved his country. And yeah, everything you see in the house is original. All the furnishings, all the drapes, everything that you're seeing is original. The chandelier above the stairs was actually taken apart here in the hallway to be reassembled because it was too large to fit through any of the doors.
Oh.
Yeah. And then we're going to come this way. This would have been the master bedroom, the primary room in the house. You can come up
And that was President Trump after his Memphis trip visiting Elvis's Graceland home. Okay, let's take a quick break now. We're expecting a press conference soon from Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy about last night's flight collision at New York's LaGuardia Airport. Stay with us.
Absolutely perfection.
Hands down, the best show I've ever seen.
I almost cried like 8 times.
I don't think anybody realizes how good this show is until you actually get into the theater and see it.
I feel better about the world. I feel uplifted.
It fills the cup with joy.
Could not get enough of it.
You have to come see it. It's a must-see. Must-see. Returns to David Koch Theater, March 25th through April 12th. Get your tickets at shenyun.com.
Kids love it. Parents trust it.
Obviously.
Explore GJW Plus Kids Series and Ganjiong Campus courses led by expert educators.
This is spectacular.
Children will learn values like respect, responsibility, and knowledge in language, science, and more.
Wow.
All while having fun.
Perfect.
Subscribe today at GJW Plus Kids, where learning meets fun.
For the first time ever, we're bringing you My Pillow mattresses and mattress toppers for as low as $99.98. Remember, sleep's all about temperature and pressure points. Whatever sleep needs you have, we have the right technology for you. Like our My Pillow mattress topper, our queen size has over 10,000 individual comfort supports to help relieve your pressure points. And how about our 3-inch Hybrid Plus mattress topper? It's infused with copper and silver to help your body get the restorative sleep it needs. And our My Pillow and Case Coil mattresses, I personally helped develop these mattresses to make sure they have everything needed to give us great sleep. Plus, they're made right here in the USA, and they ship right to your front door absolutely free. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to get MyPillow mattresses and toppers for as low as $99.98 and free shipping.
We said we'd never give in to a meltdown.
Okay.
And we'd never babysit with a screen. We said we'd never let the toys take over.
Mariella.
Never leave the house looking, well, and never let them out of our sight. Skylar, come here. Cars get hot fast, and kids can be at risk. Before you leave the car, always stop, look, lock.
There are real consequences to controlled media. And NTD's founders know them firsthand. Our freedom of thought is the price. This is the lesson that guides us in everything we do.
So there's the tear gas there.
We know the value of a free society. And we take seriously the responsibility to preserve it. We are NTD.